like experimenting with those kind of ideas. So that's something that I think works very well. Buongiorno and welcome to the video portion of my reflection report for Graduate Studio 2 Assessment CIM 401.3 as part of SAE's Masters of Creative Media Industries. As I detailed in the written portion here, I just want to go through and actually show some examples of what went well, some new creative ideas I tried, what worked, what didn't work, and yeah, just some basic reflection on the projects as a whole. In the deliverables, I mainly focused on the production side of the rap track, The Truth. And for this one, I'm going to go more into Enter Sandman because we had a few extra challenges with that one, obviously in regards to the pandemic and being able to travel, but also had some cool ideas and learned a fair bit along the way. So let's get into that one. Okay, well, first things first, let's start with what went well with the project. As I mentioned in the written report, the performance of my father was unbelievable, and considering, well, I'll basically be bouncing through all of the questions at once, just to go over those questions again. It was what has gone well with the project, what's not ideal, what caused them to happen, a repeat, continue of thing, how to repeat things that went well, how to avoid things that didn't, and how have I evolved throughout the project. So as I look at some certain aspects, I might answer a few of those questions at once, but we'll kind of try and address them as we go. And the ones that I don't address directly here are in the written portion of the report, which if you do want to see, just ask me and I'll send it to you. So what has went well? Of course, Dad's performance was amazing. One of the big limitations we had on this project for both the Enter Sandman and The Truth was the fact that the whole plan was to go and have the experience with, for Enter Sandman, it was supposed to be a family experience and working with my dad and my pop and my mate and trying to learn a lot from them, as well as teach them some of the things that I've been learning, and same with the rap crew to see their little studio set up and see what drives them, and also give them some tips or ideas that I might have. So let's look at what went well. So obviously a hurdle was not being able to travel, so this was all recorded remotely and sent to me. Dad done layered these himself, so let's just have a little bit of a look at Enter Sandman here. So first of all, I guess one thing that probably, asked how we changed or how we were affected throughout this project. I mean, just even listening to the opening of this track, I mean, not being able to see my family was obviously quite hard, and having Dad sing this was really quite powerful, particularly when I was editing the vocals, because just the first two lines are just, I don't know, it just made me think on a very grandiose scale. Particularly with everything going on in the world at the moment. Don't forget my son to include everyone. So I mean, even just that there, it's I kind of fell backwards into picking this song and then to having Dad sing and me produce it. But just even starting like that is, I think, like a real touching sort of element to the track. And one staple I'm trying to put on all my production is like a little reward for those that listen right to the end, when the track is normally you'd think would be finished. On the outro I do it with the techno as well. I did it with the rap. Is the reward for those that stick it all the way out. They get a little, just one of the key vocals or ideologies of the track repeated. So that's something that I've been trying to implement. Got that idea from Pharrell, does the 4-bar beat at the start of each of his tracks. So I just thought I'll put that little element on the end there. So that's something that's gone well that I've repeated. Throughout this project, I've also referenced Rick Rubin a lot, obviously as my main inspiration for this. One of the interviews mentioned in the deliverables was his with country star Jason Isbell. They talk about repeating a line, whether it be in a chorus or a verse, and having a new meaning each time that they use that line. And that double entendre or evolution of the meaning of the lyric is kind of relevant here, and something that I applied in the rap as well. But even the part here of the "Don't Forget My Son" is, I personally listening to it so many times, obviously I start taking it in different ways. So I could be taking it as an instruction to me, as in don't forget my son, don't forget to include everyone, which is something I love to do anyway. It could be to others to, in this time of isolation to make sure you include me, or even just to think to everyone else to include your family in as many things as you can. And I think that's probably the powerful thing of music. Even though this song was originally written by Metallica, 30 odd years ago, even in modern times, it can. I guess that's the power of music. I guess that's the power of music is it can affect people in different ways, and they can relate it to what's happening in their life. And part of and that is essentially one of my main inspirations of getting into this school, getting into this industry, is to help people, whether it's through good, bad, or otherwise emotions. Based on that, the subtleties that I put into a lot of my projects, there's a few in this track, like putting the "Don't Forget My Son" at the end, but also in the rap track, the layering of the truth, which we kind of discussed in the deliverable video as well as in the report. But even just looking at the set that we've got set up now, I mean, I could have easily just put together something that would be neat, just a screen or even just a screen recording. But if you look at what we've got going on, this song and this project's been heavily about obviously my dad and my family and my grandparents. So, I mean, the room is full of inspiration. You see a picture right at the front of myself, my dad, my brother, and my pop, who was going to sing it, Peter, on the right, and Benbow, Bice, who's a great writer and poet in his own, standing on the left. So even just having that lineage there, a couple of Pete CDs around. I love the subliminal messaging and the kind of the subtleties that have inspired me and put that into my music, and that's something I definitely experimented with a lot more in this project, particularly with the rap, by using like Jalen Rose, whose jersey's hanging up to the right, but that's and also Allen Iverson, one of my favourite basketballers, just to subtly whack them in there, or something that they've worked on. The room is full of inspirations. I like to show, I think, my history, and whilst I'm showing it visually and planning to do that with a lot of future projects I've been doing with DoofTube, I also do that through the music and the stuff I've already made. I like showing homage to the history that's inspired me. Tracks I've used to love, whether it's grabbing a clap or a hat from a rap track from 1998 that no one modern day would remember or you'd even be able to notice. But it's those little layers that to me make a difference. Sometimes I even put them in for me, not necessarily for the audience. But I also like using samples that make people like them, and then they'll go and explore the track like I've done to so many, and then find out about the original origins of the vocal or the song itself. But I mean, even a subtlety here, as I referenced to my parents. And I reference to my parents and my grandparents in the photo below, is at the top. Again, subliminal, subtle messaging. Love Rose. Rosemary's my mum. This track's been all about my dad, but just little shout outs to her through things like that. I mean, most people wouldn't even notice. She probably wouldn't even notice, but it's just something like that I like to do. And even through the music, sometimes I'll have a little subliminal backing track or backing vocal or just. I like putting those. I like experimenting with those kind of ideas. So that's something that I think worked very well in the rap project. To get something, and again here with that one by repeating the "Don't Forget My Son" at the end, and to go into just a couple of little more technical things. If we have a look at the naming convention, so I'm going to go back to an earlier project. An important thing is the naming convention, which is something I'm getting better at, which this project was very beneficial at. You can see here, there's a whole bunch of different track names, but even just calling it Bounce Session, and just, I mean, that's what I know. Some people just like to go, 11.1, 11.3, but putting what you've actually done different, this one here, 9.4. So session 9, 4 save, this verse. Verse was done, chorus 2 with Gems done, chorus 1's done, and then the number 3 needs to be re-recorded. These two Enter Sandman ones, and this is one thing that I was going to get into that was a bit technical, was the warping of the vocal. Trying to find the right BPM for it between 115 and 120, because there wasn't that drum track, which I was hoping to put in. It didn't obviously quite fit right because Dad didn't have one when he played in the track itself, or nor did Adrian when he tried to do the solo. So I tried to warp and that I could get the drum beat to match nicely. But through many sessions of just doing the warping itself, I ended up basically going back and using the original recording at its own pace, and just decided not to include the drum, which obviously we would have tried to do the drum if we had been able to record live up in Bendigo, I would have managed to get at least a little shaker or something in, which I was going to try and do post, but a little bit more. Oh, that actually wasn't even a time issue. It was just a skill issue, and that's. And I've learned that for future projects, I'll obviously get the drum in first, and then have everyone play to the drum track, which probably should have been done. Here you can see a lot of warping going on. A lot of cutting. I tried to create a drum track here. I tried to create a drum track here by grabbing the start. So this is his lead. I'll zoom it up a bit. All right, so this is his lead. So the original track he's played in here. It's got a little. So it's got like a little loop there. I've tried to make that the like the bass line or the kick, essentially. But then it kind of works, but it doesn't sit in time with the grid, and that's because I tried it at different BPMs, but because of the way that the rhythm and the riffs are played, it just didn't fit, which was a bit frustrating because I really wanted to juice the low end of the track up. But I'll turn that off because a few other little things we had to do because of obviously the way it was sent through was just the original recording. He had a little bit of flavour at the start, but again, it just didn't really fit. Let me just drag it out. You can see again there where I've had to cut and fit to make it all sit nicely. This is how the original is, and the bass as well. Yes, that's where I was originally starting. That's how it's originally played. You can hear a little bit goes out. It's not quite in time, and obviously with the tracks being recorded separately, and you know when he starts exactly based on a bit of lag in the headphones or in the recording itself has probably caused that. So I had to get creative with the arrangement. Here's back to how we had it. So faded the bass in just so we could get a bit of more of the groove. There we go. And that was that. So that's in the warp session. So you can see where I've cut it up there with some of the warping. Same with the vocals. Pretty heavily tried to fit to the grid, and it just took the feel out of it. As you can hear there. That's with everything dead set on the grid, but it's the way it transposes and the stretches some of the bass and rhythm. I mean, I tried doing it with the different settings down here, which is on Beats or Complex Pro. You can see that I've gone through and how much I've actually gone. Hang on, I'll show you. Hang on. Yeah, you can even see here the rhythm. Yeah, so you can see where I've gone through here, all these. All the yellow dots are where I've gone and physically dragged the waveform to make it fit. So it is exact on the grid, but and you can even hear there, it just doesn't sound quite right. So that's where the emotion, I guess, was kind of dragged out of the song a little bit, and we don't want that because it's such a heartfelt track. We didn't want to sound like a robot, even though a lot of, I guess, metal, like I mean, Tool's a good example we've spoken about in some of our classes, where they, you know, get it so precise. But this one, yeah, bend a bit off, gives it that bluesy feel. It's not supposed to be perfect. So something important, having all the vocals there grouped together. I duplicated his, because we didn't actually have a backing vocal done, I've duplicated his lead vocal and panned it left and right, put some effects on it, so it's just basically the highs. If you look at the EQ, it is EQ'd a little bit differently. And it's got more reverb and delay on it, so in little breaks like this one here, it's going to go louder to give it that more spatial effect. If you listen to just the lead, it's very, like, not dry, but he does pronounce the T, whereas on this one we kind of tried to soften it a little bit for the backup. So then together, it's So that's an example of something I think went well, and I did that a lot in the project with the female vocals on the rap, was experimenting by panning those backups, and well, because again, we didn't get a chance to record the backups myself, which I would have done if I had the chance to be in studio, but just using that little technique, I think still gives it that extra element and a bit more space to the track itself. So that's something that I definitely want to continue with my future projects, in particular some of the techno samples I might use. The issues I've just highlighted with the warping there were unique to that track. Having the girls send me their vocals just basically through an iPhone for the truth. I had to do quite a lot of that as well, particularly trying to make some of the backings and the fills fit perfectly. So I did spend quite a lot of time experimenting with different warping techniques and researching a lot of different ways to do it. But again, I think essentially the main thing I've learned from that is just get the recording right the first time, and I think that's where I really will cherish the in-studio experience, which was such a big part of this project for me. Such a big part of this project for me, and was for me, I think, particularly through the pandemic, and when we started scoping this project, and the reason I didn't want to just limit it to one song is I really wanted to push and challenge myself into different genres like Rick Rubin has through his career, except he did it over years. I'm trying to do it over weeks, but for me this was really kind of an escape from the metropolitan and I guess the isolation, and I was so looking forward to the experience. Like, to me, everything's about the music, but to me this project itself was more than the music. And I know from back and forth through class, we really wanted to, I was concerned with the end product and putting such a high standard on the end product, and now whilst this one is acceptable, I'm not going to have it externally released until I can fine tune some of those things, like getting my vocals re-sang in the rap, for example, and probably getting that to fine tune the little backing and the fills in the vocals, and maybe even trying it with a drum to see if it works better. But that's all part of the process. Back to the loneliness aspect of it is that it kind of really did cripple me a lot, because the experience is why I got to get into this. The whole point of, I don't want to just be someone who's a star or a massive producer who just sits by himself all the time. It's having someone in the chair next to me, working on ideas. I don't want to tell people what to do, and that's one thing I've got out of this is you got to let the creativity shine, and you bounce off each other and share that energy. And I recall my tutor in trimesters 1, 5 and 6 at SAE Melbourne, Darren Holcomb, when he was doing his masters, he was comparing working remotely. If you can make a song, if it would be better doing it all through Pro Tools and all remote, as opposed to someone doing it all in studio. And I've kind of kept that in the back of my head. And this experience has kind of been a mini replication of what he's done, because I have not got to be in studio with anyone throughout this whole session, and sitting in this box doing it by myself. I know this end product is not as good as what it would be, nor efficient, if I was in studio with those guys. If I was there at the time and say, hey, what if we try this lyric different, or what if we emphasize this part of the word, or do you guys like this beat? Then getting that feedback, but also being able to work together is the whole reason I'm in this. I'm not in this just to make money and sit in front of my computer all the time. I want to help people and make people better and change lives, and music is one of the most powerful ways to do that, and that is why I'm here. That is why I've taken so long to get this project submitted, because I've been so meticulous. And I know it might seem at times that I had been stalling, but it's actually because I've been up at 4 or 6 in the morning, sitting there doing the warping or trying different backing tracks or watching tutorials. Like, it's consumed me in a good way, and it's probably sacrificed some of my other subjects, but this is what I want to be doing. I just don't want to be sitting here doing it alone. So thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for helping me experiment and get the chance and realize that doing it this way, I can do it, but it's not the way I want to do it. And going forward, it's going to push me to keep reaching out to people, keep working harder. And all we can do is keep trying to share the love. And if you see someone who's got talent, do your best to get it out of them, because that's what I'm here for. Thanks for the term. Thanks for the trimester. Well done to the other kids in the class. Everyone's doing great things in this world right now, and keep being tough. Peace, love and rainbows. Obrigado.